So this is going to be an instructional video on how to install the Ninja 650 Shop Sport Bars on a 2016 Ninja 650, the non-ABS version. This is just a little bit of video of me riding around on the stock bars. The position on the stock bars is fairly upright, more of a super naked style, gives you a lot of leverage at low speeds, but the sport bars will give you a little bit farther forward lean and give you a lot better ability in the cornering. So this is going to just be 3 pictures here, the comparison of the stock bars with the sport bars when they're all said and done. You're going to be farther forward leaning, you're going to have an inch or 2 lower, and overall you're just going to have more of a downward angle like a super sport bike. So your sport bar is going to come in 4 pieces. You're going to have your 2 bars, your center clamp, your inch spacer, and then you're also going to have your hardware. I do not use the inch spacer in this installation. So step 1 is going to be taking off your bar ends. You're going to need a 6mm ratchet, and you'll just unscrew off both ends, and then that'll give you access to your grips. Next, you're going to take rubbing alcohol, not hairspray or anything else. Take rubbing alcohol and a flathead screwdriver, and you want to throw the flathead under your grips. And if you have a spray bottle, ideally you're going to pour some of the isopropyl alcohol underneath the grips, and they'll come right off. So now we're going to remove, or at least start to loosen up, the clutch lever, the electronics on the left and right, and the brake lever. There's going to be a Phillips head, 2 Phillips head screws on the back of the throttle side. Both the throttle side electronics and the electronics on the left hand side. You're going to loosen each of them just a little bit. You don't want to actually pull these screws out, just loosen them up a little bit. And then you're going to take a 5mm Allen and release a little bit of pressure on the clamp itself for the clutch and the brake. You're not going to be able to take these off until you actually pull the bars off, but it's easier to loosen these bolts when you have the bars in place. So now we're going to start removing the electronics. So it's easier to do this when you twist. There's a small indent in the bars itself. You want to twist this and then begin to pull. So taking the center clamp off of the handlebars is the only way you're going to get them to actually slide off the ends, because there's not enough room in the cable. So you're going to take your 6mm Allen key, remove the clamp right there, and then begin to slide off the electronics and your levers themselves. And I suggest covering the tank, because the bars flopping around will likely ding up your tank. So as you can see on the bar here, there's a small indent on the handlebar, and there's a small little bump on the inside of the electronic pieces there. This is going to have to line up, and that's why it's easier to twist that dot out and then slide off. So you'll do that on the left side, and then again here with the throttle body, the same thing. You'll start to twist and pull right off. And so here's going to be your Banjo Bolt that later we'll have to flip, but the next step is going to be just take your front lever off, your handlebars will be free, and then we'll attach the new clamp onto the forks themselves. I used a different bolt, so we're going to use an M8 25mm bolt with 1¼ thread pitch. The stock bolts do not work, they're too long. You're going to want to put a thread locker on them and then tighten all 4 down to about 13 foot-pounds with a torque wrench. So next we're going to want to slide our throttle body onto one of the bars. You want the threaded bar end piece facing out, and then we're going to slide that small notch like I was mentioning before into the inside closest most hole in the bar. These bars are pre-drilled. Then you're going to tighten down the throttle body with those Phillips head screws again. Throw your front brake lever on the inside of that, and then you're going to attach the bar to the center clamp with the bolts provided. You're going to want to use Loctite on those bolts, and you're going to have a 5mm socket for that. And so we're going to be using the same thing on the left side. We're going to be sliding our electronic piece onto the handlebar, sliding it into the notch closest to the inside. Then we're going to throw our clutch on, and then tighten the bar down into the clamp with the bar flush on the inside of the clamp. And so again, tightening down the electronics, you're going to be plugging back in your clutch lever sensor and using the 5mm to attach the bar to the clamp. And then once you have this set, you're going to throw the grips back on with your rubbing alcohol, and you're going to realize now that the clearance when you don't use the spacer is very, very, very bad. So we're going to have to flip the Banjo Bolt because it's going to be hitting the dash, and so that's what we're going to do next. And so to flip the Banjo Bolt, we're going to need a 12mm just open-end wrench, spanner wrench, and it's pretty simple. All you're going to do is take that wrench. It will take a little oomph to break the bolt, and then you can just hand thread it out. You're going to pull out the cable itself. You can pull it behind the bracket that it's sitting in to get a little bit more room to turn it around, but you're just going to flip the bolt itself. There will be a spacer on both sides of the cable line, and then we're just going to tighten back in, and just again like a tight hand tight, make sure it's snug. Ideally you want to throw some rags under here because you don't want to be contaminating anything with the dot fluid, and you will lose a little bit of the dot fluid. And so to finish everything up, you're going to want to angle that lever slightly up to get your full clearance, and then you're going to want to tighten everything down and throw your bar ends back on. Again, use Loctite on those bolts, and you'll have a 6mm to get them tight again. And this is just some riding footage with the new bars. Again, you pretty much get lock to lock. The positioning is much farther forward, and you get more confidence in the cornering as you have a little bit more weight on the front fork. Overall, I like it. I can appreciate what the stock bars are, but I think the difference is useful, and it's a worthy upgrade for the $180 spent on the bars and the time.